Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Tim's Time. Well, you know what? I know you don't ordinarily see me dressed like this for Tim's Time. Hoodie, Jets hoodie, by the way. Look like I've just been working out, and I have just been working out, and I've got my phone. I've just returned from the NFL Combine held in Indianapolis every year, where prospective NFL draftees lift, jump, catch, run, timed and measured in every way, and are interviewed staging or placing themselves on the ladder, waiting for next month's draft so that they'll hear their name called. I carried this phone with me. They didn't exactly let me in, and they didn't let me run the 40 or bench press or do any of those things that they do, but I made it known to them that even at this age in life, I was waiting for my moment. I was waiting for a shot, and if the Jets could use me, I was ready. Well, since they haven't called me, probably I'm going to have to go the free agent route, which means I'm going to have to find someone willing to take a chance on me, and you know the drill. Actually, you and I don't know the drill, because sometimes though we're ultra critical of athletes and we talk about the multi-million-dollar contracts that they sign, and they're so overpaid, and they are, and they get all that money and all that attention and all that fame for playing a game, and they do. The pressure on them is pretty phenomenal, especially at the Combine. Can you imagine, just for a second think, can you imagine lining up to run the 40-yard dash with executives and people timing you, watching you, seeing and measuring you, and if you run a 4.4 340, you may lose $100,000, $500,000, and in some cases, it may mean the difference between a first-round draft choice or a second or third-round draft choice if you lose to a 4.31 guy. It may mean millions of dollars and an opportunity to control your own destiny to just a smidgen, as much as those guys can. It's like you're ready for your moment, and you get it, and you better be ready for it, and you better take advantage of it. What in the world does that have to do as we're heading toward Easter with the disciples and Jesus and Gethsemane? Well, last week, you'll recall, we talked about one of the reasons I believe they fell asleep is they were just so busy and they were tired. But there was another reason, I believe. Well, let me come at it from another angle. Let me ask you this question. Do you think, had they known that maybe within an hour, Judas and the soldiers and the high priest and them were coming to get Jesus, don't you think they'd have stayed awake? Don't you think even if they didn't pray for the entire hour, they'd have been huddled together talking about what they were going to do and how they were going to respond and how they were going to defend the Lord? Instead, they fell asleep, and Jesus utters those monumental words, the flesh is willing, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And boom, before you know it, it's on. And they respond to the soldiers. There's a story in the Gospels about that. They all scatter and run as Jesus had predicted. They failed in their task to be who God had called them to be because they weren't ready for the moment. Had they known, I'm convinced, had Jesus returned and left them that last time and said, listen, you guys, I'm going over here. Please stay awake because they're coming for me and they'll be here within the hour. I believe they'd have stayed awake. But they missed the sense of urgency that comes with the moment. Haven't you missed it before? I certainly have. When that moment hits you and you weren't really prepared and you hadn't made your mind up that you are going to be who the Lord wants you to be, and all of a sudden there's the crisis of belief, or there's a crisis of relationship. There's that moment when the Lord needs someone to step up and do what's right or what the loving thing is, and we just aren't ready for it, and we shrink back. You see, I think in our culture, we're running and running and running and running and jumping and jumping and jumping and jumping, and we're responding to the tyranny of the urgent, as some psychologists and sociologists like to call it. So much so that if we're not careful, we will forget what is really most urgent, and that is loving the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and spirit, and loving your neighbor as yourself. And I don't want you to do that. And I don't want me to do that. I want us to be awake and to be ready. And as Peter said, be ready in season, out of season. When you're drafted and when you're not invited to the combine. Whatever circumstance you find yourself in, you be ready to stand up and step up for the Lord, because you never know when that moment's coming and you never get it back. Hope you have a great week this week. I hope your prayer life is phenomenal. But more than that, I hope you seize the day, cliche, or seize your moment, his moment. Have a great week. God bless.